You want one? Okay.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. This is our regular meeting of Bardstown City Council on August 28th. I welcome everybody to be here tonight. Got a lot of interested people in the audience, which is nice to have. First item on our agenda, we're going to swear in our new police officer, and I'll ask Chief Kim Cressy, would you introduce Officer Clark?
Officer Mike Clark. We're so excited to have Mike with us. He comes to us from the Nelson County Sheriff's Department. And Mike is a native here of Nelson County. He was with the Sheriff's Department for 12 years, and we're really excited to have him join us with the Bardstown Police Department. He comes with a lot of experience and knowledge, and he's a great fit, and he's exactly what we're looking for to build our team that we're continuing to build on the Bardstown Police Department. So we're very excited for him to be here. I'm going to let Mike introduce his family that he's brought with him, his lovely wife that is the support and foundation of his family. Mike?
This is my wife, Stacy, from here in Nelson County. This is also my oldest child, Eli Clark. It's my son. He's a senior at Campbellsville University. This is my youngest child, Ryan Ellen. She is a senior at Thomas Nelson High School. We also have a middle child. She's at Richmond at Eastern Kentucky. She's majoring in education there, so she wasn't able to be with us tonight. So first, I would like to thank the mayor and the chief for the opportunity to continue my law enforcement career here in Bardstown. So I'm ready to get to work.
Welcome, and if you'll join me up front here, we'll swear you in, and on behalf of the City of Bardstown, I too would like to welcome you and the City Council to our police department. We're a growing community, and public safety is paramount to everyone, and it's great to have an experienced officer like yourself joining our department, and I know you'll do us a good job. You've done good work in the past, because that's why when you came and applied, we were happy to have someone with your experience and background join our department, so welcome. So if you raise your right hand, I'll do the swearing in. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the position of police officer according to law. And I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within the state nor out of it, nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Congratulations, and welcome to Bardstown.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Officer Clark, and all your family for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome you all to our family. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
The next item on our agenda, I want to introduce local Boy Scout Kobe Sparks, who's with us this evening, and Kobe is working on a merit badge, and I'll ask Kobe if he would to address the council, maybe tell us what merit badge you're working on, what troop you belong to, and maybe what rank you hold in Boy Scouts.
Hello, my name is Cody Sparks. I'm working on the communication merit badge, and I'm here to do a requirement, which is listen for a topic, and people that approve of it and people who don't approve of it, like listen to their opinions on it, or point of view, and I'm with Troop 100.
Is that here in Nelson County?
That's in Mount Washington.
Okay. We're glad to have you, and thank you for your hard work with Boy Scouts, and I think you'll find that your experience will pay off in the long run, and as for a lot of others before you. So glad to have you join us tonight. We hope you find it interesting. so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I know we have one young lady here tonight to address the council and give us some input. Carmel Bowman, if you'd like to address the council on your topic of street and school safety. And
All right. Just from here?
you can stand and come forward and
Okay,
stand right there.
stand
Whatever's
Nice
comfortable.
face. I wrote some things down so I wouldn't forget what I need to say, but I'm certainly open for any questions or whatever. So, my name is Carmel Bowman. I live halfway between Bardstown and Fairfield. I used to live on Dennery Drive. My son is a student at the Bardstown Middle School, and we are members of St. Joe's Parish. I am here tonight representing a few citizens that are concerned about safety and traffic in the Templin Avenue, 5th Street, Stephen Foster Avenue area, especially right before and after school hours. I don't know, you all familiar with this situation in the mornings where the traffic is, okay. So it's very frustrating for the drivers in the area, but really I'm concerned about the safety of the pedestrians crossing the street. I'm talking about the mothers pushing the strollers, the groups of walkers and joggers who are out getting their exercise, the school children who are walking home or to school from the subdivisions north of Templin Avenue. So just in preparation for coming tonight, I went out on the sidewalk. Not only have I been dealing with this for the year, last year when my son was going to school there as well, but I thought I'm just gonna go and sit and watch and write down what I see. Just one afternoon for 15 minutes. So let me tell you what I saw. 3:30 in the afternoon, the traffic was backed up from the high school parking lot all the way to the stop sign at Templin Avenue. Traffic was backed up and not moving all the way from Templin Avenue all the way to the stop sign at the school parking lot. As a matter of fact, there were 4 cars on Templin Avenue waiting to turn onto 5th Street. One car turned onto 5th Street and then backed up to go a different way. Now that caused a little creation of a little instance there while they were trying to get around. That was really interesting. I'd never seen that before. At one point, there was a student waiting to cross a corner. I didn't witness this, but her mother did. Where the traffic was backed up on both sides. She was standing at the corner waiting to cross Templin Avenue towards Frank and Bridget Wilson's house, if you know where that is. Traffic was backed up. She had eye contact. This girl is a very competent 6th grader. She knows traffic. She knows how to cross the street. She's been told from this little, make sure you have eye contact. Don't trust the blinkers. Don't trust that you have eye contact with the cars before they come. So she's ready to cross. She's got eye contact. This car stopped. She's got eye contact. That car stopped. She steps out on the street. She's walking confidently, quickly, not running, but she's going. At the same time, this car on 5th Street says, go, let's go, goes in. They kind of went, ah, and both realized the danger at this, nobody crunched, but they both had this shocked look on their face. This is our student right here, so she could tell you about that little incident if you need to. It's just a bad situation. Sometimes you see blinkers turning when people are turning on. Sometimes they slow down, sometimes they don't. You see people turning without blinkers. That's an issue. I witnessed a school bus barreling down from 4th Street, going at least 40 miles an hour. This was a school bus that didn't slow down one bit when it was crossing 5th Street, that it just went right on through. I think that was a little faster than is allowed there. There was another school bus that was going not quite that fast, but definitely, not a 35 mile an hour. Anyway. So, I saw 2 other students cross when the traffic wasn't so blocked up, but they ran across the street. I stopped and asked them, why did you run? And I said, were you afraid that you were going to make it? They said, no, we just really didn't want to inconvenience the traffic. But, okay, that's interesting. 2 other students decided to just walk on down Templin Avenue. They turned left when they were coming. They turned left, walked down the sidewalk, walked down to the bottom of the hill, and then jaywalked across the street. Well, They ran across the street as well. One had a huge backpack on, like all kids do, carrying a trombone or a cello or something, I'm not sure what. Okay, this is safe. Let's run across carrying lots of weight. This is prone for disaster. My sister saw a mother with a stroller jaywalking at the same place. Where are you supposed to cross? You know, if there's no designated place, then the drivers don't even have a clue of when they're, you know, where are they supposed to walk? Where are they supposed to be watching out? Obviously at the corners, but if there's no place, then jaywalking is happening all up and down Templin Avenue. Because there is no designated crossing spot. Now, mind you, the school zone lights that are there's a flashing light there, turns off at 3:30. Right about when the bulk of the walkers are getting there to cross that street, the flashing lights turn off. Let's see, what else? Oh, and when they paved the road, not too long ago, the whole intersection was paved. And they painted a crosswalk on there. I'm like, hooray, something's going. They took it back up. What's up with that? The crosswalk is no longer there. So, you know, being the active mom that I normally am, when my son was there and I was waiting for him, I would step out into traffic when I saw children on the other side of the road waiting to cross. They might not stop for the children, but they will stop for me. So I would step out into traffic until all the cars stopped and then the kids could cross. I didn't think that was a very good solution, but it worked for me immediately. I also had called the police station and said, can we get a traffic cop down at that corner just for 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon? The drivers will be way happier. The children will be safer. The pedestrians, the other pedestrians and joggers are going to be happier. 20 minutes. Can we have a traffic cop for 20 minutes? And basically the answer I got was, we don't have the resources. We can't do that. So, okay, well, that didn't work. So let me think. What happened was Michelle, who is a Girl Scout and they had been talking a lot about pedestrian safety and can you walk from your house to your friend's house. They've been talking a lot about that. She saw an opportunity to say, hey, I can do something about this. She called City Hall. City Hall, she said, I guess I talked to a secretary who passed me through to another secretary. And the answer was, what? They make a bill about it. They're gonna, for the crosswalk. Okay, so that was the one up on Stephen Foster. They were gonna put in a work order for the crosswalk up at Stephen Foster that wasn't working. Okay. But, okay, and then when they talk about the Templin Avenue concern, was told, well, you need to talk to the police. So, a couple weeks after school started, a few more phone calls, that signal up at Stephen Foster and Fifth is working, so hooray. Then my sister talked to the assistant police chief about the Templin Avenue. I was politely told that that was a state highway and not their responsibility. Suggested, that didn't come across just that way. They talked a lot, but the end result was, that's a state highway. We can't do anything about that. The traffic guard would be up to the school system, and that would have to come from their budget. Maybe some parents could come out and be crossing guards. He did say he would check out the situation, but we haven't heard anything back from that. One day after church, happened to mention something to Dave Dones, and guess what? He called me back, and he said, let's talk about this. So we spent 20 minutes or so brainstorming different solutions about all kinds of ideas from various aspects of what could be done. And then he asked me the question, he said, Carmel, what do you want me to do? I thought, what a great question. And my answer to that is, I want him, all of us, to get the city council, the city, the mayor, the police, the schools, to recognize, the state, to recognize that there's a problem, and to get together and find a solution. I don't know what the solution is. There are lots of solutions. I have lots of ideas. But I want them to get together and find a solution, an immediate solution, one that's going to make it safe, and it might be a temporary solution, but then also work towards something a little more permanent so that we can have this school zone, which how many schools are there? Six schools in that area, in the school zone, have that a little more safe for our children, for the citizens, for the traffic, just for the drivers, for everybody involved. surely there's got to be somebody's responsibility. Well, it's all of our responsibility. It's not, if somebody says it's not, well, no, it's not wholly your responsibility. It's not wholly your responsibility, but it's all of our responsibility. I think we need to find something to address the situation. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Anybody have any questions about any of that?
Mayor, I guess I should, I'm going to open it up for questions. I just wanted to say something first because Ms. Bowman and her sister Teresa Honey, who happens to be Michelle's mother, are the ones that contacted me first about the issue. And a few of the things that we had thrown out, and I'm going to let the chief take it here in a second too, but I know everybody has some questions. But some possibilities that their group had thrown out would have been in the crosswalk at Stephen Foster, and that had been repaired.
Yes, that was good.
So that issue's over.
She feels very confident.
We had talked about, at one time, that there had been radar speed indicators on Temple Avenue. We tried to control some of that speed. We really should say first about the state issue. That is a state highway. The issue with the crosswalk turned out being, and I think rightfully so, the state determined that the crosswalk across there was actually more of a danger to pedestrians than it was a help, because it provides a feeling of right-of-way to that person where there really isn't any means to stop that traffic. So it was deemed by the state, and I have to agree with that it is more of a danger to have that crosswalk present, and that's the reason it was removed. I mean, it was put in probably by mistake or repainted by the paint crew, and then the state actually came back and said, no, we're not going to allow this, so unless there was some form of stop there. We discussed the possibility of reducing speed on Temple. We talked about cooperation between the city schools and the city, the police department and the city, and Ryan Clark has weighed in on this too. We've got a nice letter from Ryan Clark, who has weighed in his support for something to take place here. So enforcement of the school zones, the speed limit we discussed. We discussed making it one long school zone from early childhood on Templin, because you have a school zone on early childhood, and then it ends the school zone, changes to a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, then immediately changes to 35. But that changes to 25 during the flashing segment during school hours, or let out or walk in, that Ms. Bowman had mentioned. So I'm going to open up to questions first, and then Chief, I know, has some information for you also on the issue.
I would just like to say thank you for bringing that up. I am also a grandmother who lives right there where the school system is, over there in Wellington, and every morning it is congested. I mean, you can't get up Templin and then turn to go up to the high school. I mean, it's just bumper to bumper sometimes, and you really have to get out early to make sure that you make it on time. But what I would like to say is that I know, and I don't know if this would work in our community or not, in another city that we lived in, it was a private school, but it was more like a public school. It had a lot of kids in it. But the parents got with the local police department. They trained them how to do the traffic. I don't think all of us can just go out there one day and direct traffic. I just don't think it's possible. So the parents got out there. They took turns and they directed the traffic. They made sure that, it was flowing. And it took some training. I did not volunteer for that because I know I would mess that up. So, but I don't know if that's something that can be done. I don't know, but I remember growing up, we had policemen out there. And, they took that time and they directed traffic. And even with them out there, sometimes it was backed up. But hopefully with the school system, the city, we will be able to do something about that, because it is a huge safety concern. So thank you for bringing it to us for awareness. Thank you.
I would just say that this subject came up several months ago, right when they did the blacktopping, when they removed it. And back before they did the blacktopping, they had crosswalk, and they had 2 signs that told traffic coming east and west on Temple that they were approaching the sidewalk. But they removed it. I personally called District 4 over in Elizabethtown, talked to the second in command engineer, and he said state had changed their position on this type of subject due to the fact that there was no mechanism that would stop traffic. Unless there was traffic stopping, they no longer permitted crosswalks on state highways because, to what Councilman Dones just said, people assume that they have the right of way, which they do, but the people driving don't always honor that, and people have been hit and killed in state and city crosswalks when there has not been a stopping mechanism in place, be it a light or a stop sign. And they said, we no longer do that. And they said, our people made a mistake when they painted the crosswalk back on there, and then they took it away. And I said, well, your 2 signs are still there, saying that there's a sidewalk, a crosswalk. He goes, really? Yeah, I walk there with my wife on Sundays. I know they're there. So they came and took them down the next couple of days. That's the background. So it's not like something we haven't been on our agenda, and we've had some conversation in that regard. And I'll let Chief maybe give you a little more feedback of what they've given us. And we're open to ideas, but it probably is going to take a combination of state cooperation, city cooperation, and perhaps school, because I know Mr. Clark is maybe asking us for assistance here, but he's also asking for assistance with a school resource officer and other things that are not in our budget, but he says maybe they don't have enough budget on their side. So, what's more important,
I just don't want to wait till somebody gets hit before they find it. Because once it happens, they'll find it.
One more thing that Captain Joe Seeley and I had discussed, and the chief was involved in this too, and one of the ideas that the captain had proposed would be a 3-way stop. So
That would solve a lot.
personally, there's some studies that would have to be done, obviously, to check on traffic flow and this kind of thing. I would advocate something like the 3-way stop because I think that it would solve 2 problems. I think it'd solve the problem with the excessive speed on Templin, but it also would alleviate some of the traffic pressure on 5th. Because if you're sitting on 5th Street waiting to turn on Templin, you cannot make that turn because you do not have the right-of-way. So if the 3-way stop was added, you would have the right-of-way to make that turn, which would alleviate some of that pressure off of 5th. So I would advocate something of that nature, and I'll turn it over to the chief and let her.
The biggest thing I want to relay to you that this is a big issue for us from the police department standpoint, because the children's safety is number 1. And so I want to make sure that the information that got flowed back to you, that it is a big deal from Captain Seeley. He ran the traffic unit prior to coming to Bardstown, and so he spent a lot of time on this. And so just to give that answer that he couldn't do anything about it, that it was a state problem, is not true. He has been going out and sitting there and watching the traffic flow and doing studies. He knows Jake Riggs from the State Department. He's dealt with him in the past. The information because it is a state issue, that is true. But it is important to him, and so he's looking for ways.
He clearly indicated
He's
that.
looking for ways what we can do to make it safer. And because, like everyone's saying, Templin is, they had to remove that because people just in a crosswalk, as we all have been on crosswalks before, just downtown. When you're on the crosswalk downtown, cars do not stop for you. So you're not always safe in a crosswalk, and there's lots of studies out on crosswalks. And are you safe just to walk across the crosswalk? Well, people are distracted drivers all the time. That's why we have accidents. And they're on their phones, they're listening to music, they're just distracted in general a lot of times. That's why accidents occur. And so just to think that when you walk in a crosswalk that you're safe is unrealistic. And so we have to take all kinds of measures to make sure that our children are safe. And so that's why the state will not even consider putting a crosswalk back until there is a safe zone, whether it be the stopwalks or lights or things like that. So we have to look at other things. But in the meantime, we can increase our enforcement in the area, and we can do things quicker to try to alleviate some issues. but it's kind of like taking a 2-liter and turning it upside down and getting all that traffic to funnel out the little bottom of a 2-liter. And because we have 3 schools that are emptying out. We can also work with school officials to like Councilwoman Copeland says, to look at their traffic flow and their traffic plan for dismissal and for arrival, to maybe just see if we can improve their plan and work with Captain Seeley, because that is an area that he is an expert in. And to see if maybe we can look to kind of tweak their plans, to see if there's a better way to bring traffic in and to get them to exit, and maybe expedite those plans and maybe alleviate that prior to something being done with this. But the safety of our students is our top priority, and we're not going to just turn away from this. We're going to keep working with the school system. We talk to Mr. Clark all the time and see what we can do to make sure that the students are safe when they leave, because we would never want one of our children to get hit coming to or leaving school. So it is a priority. We're going to keep working with the council members and with the school officials and do enforcement at the same time. Now, would we love to put someone there to direct traffic? In a perfect world, yes. But the problem would be when we only have a limited amount of officers to patrol the streets. If we put one there, then I would get a call, don't we have one at 5th and Broadway? Well, why don't I have one on Stephen Foster? Because they have a crosswalk there. And then it's, where do you choose where the most important crosswalk would be for your children? And how can you choose one over the other? And then I don't have anyone making calls for service. And so to say which one's the most important crosswalk to have an officer at is just not realistic in a small agency, to have those resources taken off of and out of our neighborhoods. And so that's why we have to be very cautious with that, with our resources that we have, to make sure that we're still keeping our neighborhood safe at the same time of keeping our children safe. So, but we're going to keep top priority to see what we can do to make the arrival and dismissal the safest we can. And it will be our top priority, I assure you that.
Anyone else have any questions? Carmel,
So did you talk with Ryan Clark? Did he have any ideas on any immediate things that we can do, like tomorrow morning during school? I mean, obviously nothing's gonna happen by tomorrow. Short of me, stepping out in traffic to slow things down. Any other suggestions? Did he have any other suggestions?
The only thing that I've
immediately,
seen,
or while you're working on a long-term solution,
is the email that Ryan had sent the chief. And it was circulated to all of us. The mayor and the council saw the email, and it more or less was looking for some type of cooperation between the city and the school system, to either being resource officers or training, cross-training between the police, and that's what I took from the email. But I have not spoken with Mr. Clark personally.
Well, always good for bringing people to the table that says, when you need people, it said we need people to take this training and do it. People look at me and say, well, do you want that? So I'm happy to be a part of that if that ends up being part of the solution.
I personally, I would advocate something more of a permanent solution to try to alleviate both traffic and the dangerous situation there, rather than something like a resource officer or safety officers. I'm not sure if that actually puts someone in harm's way or not. So it's something that I would lean towards the other.
Okay, I'm just thinking interim as well.
Chief, in Louisville, I know a lot of schools down there have some sort of safety person out there directing traffic. Who usually funds that in Louisville?
They have approximately 119 traffic guards on staff. Louisville does.
And police department?
They do. But the civilianized unit.
And Mayor, one other thing, just as Joe Seeley and I had talked about, was the possibility, not possibility, but the fact that the quarry is going to move out to the west end of town, and that truck is going to increase the traffic flow significantly through that corridor in Templin Avenue to get to 245. So, you could be talking about a couple of hundred trucks a day potentially in its peak that's going to be going by 6 schools.
They should stay off this street.
They should.
It's not road weighted to handle those guys.
Right.
So they would be starting getting pulled over and getting ticketed until
Should
they
stay off.
travel on 150 or 31E. That doesn't mean some might slip through there, but if that starts, Fifth Street's not built for tractor trailer and tracks or truckloads of rock to be traveling through there. Of course, we're still working on some long-term plans on that. Right. Probably as we speak, but that's still several years away, probably. But, Carmel, we hear you, and I appreciate you coming by this. I think, as I say, we've already been in some dialogue with the state and the school. It's not something we have, ignored. But like I say, the crosswalk was there before the last time it was paved, and the signs were there, but that's a new position that the state removed it. And we'll see what we can come up with to make it a safe way.
Thank you.
David's right, the state will have to do some traffic studies because there's already, you've described, it's what they call a stacking problem with traffic as they stack at these intersections. They will have to do a traffic study to see what that three-way intersection, how that would impact the stacking problem that's already there. Would it make it better or would it make it worse? Hopefully better. We don't know. That's what the engineers, and they've got computer programs that tell them all that stuff. They do a traffic study, how many cars per hour coming through there, et cetera. So that would probably have to be done, but it's part of the process. Okay. Any other questions or comments on this?
I didn't. Are those 119 jobs, are they like temporary jobs? Would you know that? Or are they like part-time, not temporary, but like just part-time?
I think they are part-time because they come in the morning and then they come in the afternoon. I think they are part-time.
So then you wouldn't have the expense of hiring a police officer if they did.
They are civilians.
But paid by the police department?
Yes.
Their budget.
Seasonal.
No.
It's not a seasonal job?
No.
So what do they do when school's not in session?
I know they're used for details throughout the year. I can get all the details for you. Captain Seeley's wife actually runs that unit.
And the meter readers, they give you a ticket down there.
No, that's a different one. That's a different unit.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, and we'll, I'm sure you'll be hearing back from somebody. Councilman Dones will be your conduit. Since you all sing together pretty often, so you can be able to stay in touch. Okay, HRB recommendations. I guess, Tim, if you want to read the recommendations.
Yeah, we have one recusal on D, so I won't read that one. I'll leave that one till last. This is the HRB recommendations from their meeting Tuesday, August 21st, 2018. COA 18-114, Don Parrish, applicant owner, requests to remove trees at 205 West Flagey Avenue. Recommendation approval to move the proposed trees. Condition, the applicant will get staff approval for the tree to be replaced and that the second tree will not be replaced because it is right on the fence line and obstructing power line. COA 18-115, Don Parrish, applicant, St. Joe Parish owner, requests to remove trees at 310 West Stephen Foster Avenue. Recommendation approval to remove proposed trees. Condition, which I guess it would be remove the actual trees. Conditions, the application only pertains to the removal of 14 trees, not to the installation of the parking lot and design of the parking lot. COA 18-116, Rick and Natalie McKay, applicant's owners, request to add landscaping at 214 East Flagey Avenue. Recommendation approval to add the proposed landscaping. Condition, the final design of the landscape plan will be staff approved. COA 18-118, Derek Hutchins, applicant owner, request to add awnings at 114 North 3rd Street. Recommendation approval to install the proposed awnings. COA 18-119, Derek Hutchins, applicant owner, request to paint the building at 114 North 3rd Street. Recommendation approval to paint the building the proposed colors. Conditions, that the applicant would consider gentleman's gray at the final and that the final paint color will be staff approved. COA 18-120, James Beavers, applicant owner, request to paint the structure and features at 227 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to paint the building and features the proposed colors. COA 18-121, James Beavers, applicant owner, request to remove a tree stump and add landscaping at 227 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to remove the tree stump and add the proposed landscaping. COA 18-122, James Beavers, applicant owner, request to remove the windows at 227 North 3rd Street. Recommendations to remove the windows proposed in the application. COA 18-123, James Beaver, applicant owner, request to add siding to an addition at the 227 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to add the proposed siding. Conditions, as the siding is being removed, check with the preservation coordinator to see if any aspect of the siding can be saved underneath. If not, then the smooth side hardy plank 4 inches or what is closest to the original size of the siding would be allowed. COA 18-124, David and Lisa Woody, applicant owner, request to repair and paint the shutters at 313 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to repair the shutters, gutters, and paint the building the same colors.
Okay, then we need a motion then to approve COA 18-114, 115, 116, 118, 19, 120, 121, 122, 123, and 124.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion,
With the conditions.
With the conditions set forth from the HRB.
I have a motion and a second.
Second,
by
Mayor.
Councilman Williams. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, and I think Councilman Butler is going to recuse himself on COA 18-117.
COA 18-117, JTD Holdings, applicant owner, request to add a wood garbage storage bin at 202 South 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed garbage bin. Condition that the design of the garbage bin holder is the amended design that was proposed to the board, and that it will be painted to match the color of the house.
Okay. I've requested a motion then to approve COA 18-117 with the condition.
So moved with condition.
Motion by Councilman Kelly, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Councilman Buckman back in. Okay, the next item is the planning and zoning. It's a recommendation for a change in zoning regulations. I'll have Tim Butler explain the change.
Yes, Mayor, this was, unlike a zoning map amendment, which is what people traditionally call a rezoning, which you all do not have to take up unless you want to, this is a zoning regulation amendment, and it has to be taken up, and if passed, it has to be done by ordinance. So at a meeting, perhaps the next meeting, there will be first read on an ordinance to approve this. But basically what it does is there's and if you read the minutes from their public hearing, you understand that there was a mobile home park off of Boston Road. It's a mobile home actually subdivision, which the difference between a park is one big parcel where you lease individual slots or mobile homes. Subdivision is where there's actually subdivided lots that are for sale or can be for sale. They can be rented, but they're typically for sale. They're a separate legal entity, and they are designated for mobile home manufactured housing. And this may date back to when someone else was zoning administrator, but there was an issue of they placed single-wide mobile homes as well as what traditionally would be called single-wide mobile homes and double-wide mobile homes, both in that subdivision, but the regulation actually limited it to where you see where it says one dimension width of 18 feet or less, that would be a single-wide mobile home. So They considered the options, which would be to continue to limit and then try to enforce, or to open it up to all manufactured housing, without any kind of restriction on width. And I think they made the proper decision, which would be to allow either, quote, single wide or double wide mobile homes. In other words, not to have that restriction on dimension. So the recommendation they are making is to, under A, principal use is permitted, for it to read manufactured housing 1 unit per lot, and to strike with 1 dimension width of 18 feet or less when finally installed. So just want to let you know that's what that is. That's the background. There's an attachment here with minutes where they have a fairly lengthy discussion about it, if you want any future details. But if you have a question now that you think I could answer, I'd be glad to try.
I'm going to ask you to take off your legal counsel hat and put on your former planning and zoning administrator hat, because you dealt with this for a number of years.
It might cause the problem.
Yeah, and so, you usually don't give opinions as legal counsel, but, I'm going to ask you as former planning and zoning administrator, I don't see a problem with it at all. I mean, you dealt with these issues on a daily basis for years, do you see?
To be honest with you, I'm kind of stunned that language is in there. It should have never been in there. The intent for a subdivision, not a park. Mobile home park traditionally is limited to single wide. A park, what everybody considers a mobile home park. But a subdivision was added to allow, there's a little bit of a prejudice against manufactured housing, I think, but it was intended to allow people the opportunity to buy a lot and to have a home place. Well, obviously, it shouldn't matter if it's single or double. Honestly, it would seem like to me that limitation should be flip-flopped. If there was going to be a limitation, it should only be modular double wide, not single wide in a subdivision.
Because if you had a lot of double wides and somebody come in with single, you could devalue their property.
That would be the argument, yes, sir.
Where somebody else coming in with a double wide, with a bunch of single wides, you could argue that you're not getting your value there.
Yeah, if you read that discussion, a modular home, a double wide mobile home comes in and is placed on a properly installed perimeter block with pier foundation. It's considered the same as a site-built home.
Well, if I understand it correctly, it also still imposes the same type of setback rules. And
Yes.
it's a 3-acre minimum, and it still has the same setback rules, so you couldn't really infringe upon, or you couldn't put multiple double wides on there.
10,000 square feet minimum.
Yeah, it's a third of an acre, not
10,000 square
3
feet.
acres.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same as the R1C, which is single-family residential, you see throughout the community. So it's just a cleanup provision is what it is. It's not, it wouldn't bother me or worry me in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, any other questions of Tim? Okay, we'll bring that correction back, or that amendment back and forth. It needs to be ordained by both the city and the county, so we'll bring that back. First reading next meeting. If everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of the August 14th meeting, there's no corrections or additions. By unanimous consent. All right. Need someone then to introduce E 2018 Chapter 114 change to alcoholic beverages. We had that discussion last meeting. This is the first reading, but we do need to read it. We need it introduced as well. Summary.
Mayor, if I may be in order, I'd like to introduce the summary of ordinance number B 2018, Chapter 114, alcohol beverage, and that would be read by City Attorney.
Yes, sir. Summary of ordinance B 2018 dash, and then it'll be added later. Chapter 114 alcoholic beverage. An ordinance amending and adopting is amended in its entirety an ordinance related to Chapter 114 alcoholic beverages of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances. This ordinance will amend Section 114.01 definitions as follows. to add definitions of bottling house or bottling house storage license, brewer license, distiller license, distributor license, NQ1 retail drink license, NQ-2 retail drink license, NQ-4 drink license, non-quota or NQ malt beverage package license, quota retail drink license, quota retail package license, rectifier license, and wholesaler license. To amend the definition of NQ-3 retail drink license to strike distiller. To amend the definition of special Sunday retail drink license to add NQ1 retail drink license. To strike the definition of sampling license. To strike the definition of souvenir package Sunday sales and souvenir retail package license. Strike distillers plus souvenir retail package $290 fee in section 114.20. Amend section 114.20 distilled spirits, wine, and wine licenses to add NQ1 retail drink license with a fee of $1,000. To amend section 114.40B to strike on Sunday and or at any time during the 23 hours of a Sunday after 1 a.m. to clarify Sunday is to be no different than any other day of the week in association with malt beverages. Amend section 114.40D1, E, F, and G to strike 1 p.m. and to add 10 a.m. Amend section 114.40D2 as follows: to strike premise which has been granted a souvenir package Sunday sale license, and to add distiller with a gift shop selling souvenir packages, as souvenir package sale license is now incorporated in distiller's license. To strike convenience stores, grocery stores, and packaged liquor stores and replace with businesses to reflect that more than these types of businesses are licensed to sell malt beverages by the package. Strike package and correct with drink. To add non-quota retail malt beverage package license as relates to Sunday sales. To amend section 114.43A to strike 5 and correct with 1 per KRS 244.083. To amend section 114 penalties as follows: to strike A, any person who violates any of the provisions of this chapter shall, upon conviction thereof in a court of competent jurisdiction, to be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be sentenced to pay a fine for each offense or violation of not more than $500. In strike. Under section B, which at the end of this, when this is done, this will be recodified with the appropriate letters. To amend section 114.99 penalties B, any person who violates the strike distillers license fee provisions add of section 114.20 in addition shall, upon conviction in accordance with KRS 243.990 subsection 2, be guilty of a add class B in addition misdemeanor and shall be sentenced to pay a fine of not less than $100 nor more than 200 add and 50 end add dollars. Strike the new numbers 200 add $250, or sentenced to imprisonment of no less than strike 6 add 3 months, or both for the first offense. For a second offense, the person shall be add guilty of a class A misdemeanor and, in addition, fined not less than 200 add and 50 in addition dollars. Strike 200 in numerical, add 250 numerical in addition, no more than $500, or sentenced to the imprisonment for no more than strike 6 add 12 months, or both. On the third and each subsequent offense, the person shall be add guilty of a class D felony and, in addition, sentenced to a fine of not less than strike $500, add $1,000, no more than strike $5,000, add $10,000, or sentenced to the imprisonment of not more than 5 years, or both. Add, the penalties provided in this subsection shall be in addition to the revocation of the offender's license. Subsection C, any person who violates any provision of strike section 114.20 other than as discussed in Division B of this section or any provisions of, and then end strike, subsection 114.21 through subsection 144.26, 114.40, 114.42 add, and in addition, 114.44 strike, and 114.45 shall upon conviction in accordance with KRS 243-990 strike subsection 5, add subsection 1 in addition, and 244.990 subsection 1 shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be fined not less than $100, no more than 200, add, and 50 in addition dollars, strike numerical 200, add numerical 250, or be in prison no more than strike 6, add 3 months, or both for the first offense, and on the second and each subsequent offense, the person shall be fined not less than 200, add, and $50, strike numerical 200, add numerical 250, nor more than $500, or be imprisoned for no more than strike 6, add 12 months, or both. Subsection D, any person who violates any provisions of subsection 114.43 shall, upon conviction and in accordance with KRS 244-990, strike subsection 5, add subsection 4, be deemed to have committed a violation and shall be fined not less than $10, no more than strike 100, add $250, strike numerical 100, add numerical 250. Any person who violates any of the provisions of subsection 114.45 shall, upon conviction and in accordance with KRS 244-990 subsection 5 and subsection 6, be deemed to have committed a violation and shall be fined not less than $10, no more than strike $100, add $250, and numerical $250 for misrepresentation of age. Add, for each subsequent offense, the person shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor and be fined not less than $250, no more than $500. For any person under the age of 18 years, a violation shall be deemed a status offense and shall be under the jurisdiction of the juvenile session of district court or the family division of the circuit court as appropriate. In addition, strike for use of a false, fraudulent, or alternate identification card, paper, or other document to purchase, attempt to purchase, or otherwise obtain any alcoholic beverage, the person shall be fined not less than $50, no more than $500 for a first offense, for a second and each subsequent offense, and the person shall be fined not less than $200, no more than $2,000. End strike. Now therefore be it ordained by the city of Bardstown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage and approval and publication of this ordinance, Chapter 114, alcoholic beverages, is amended and adopted in its entirety. See the attached. This summary was certified by me, Tim Butler, City Attorney.
Okay, thank you, Tim. This is the first reading, so we won't have any vote this evening, but is there any questions of Tim or anything that we've read?
I guess I should have brought this up before. I'll throw it out, maybe a little discussion. We have an area about the December New Year's Eve that we can stay open, till 1 o'clock in the morning. And, and rereading this again today, it occurred to me, we have a lot of holiday weekends like Labor Day weekend and Memorial Day weekend, and sometimes 4th of July or something like that fall on Monday. And it kind of turns a Sunday into a Saturday type situation. And I don't know if there's any appetite for just those few occasions we have a holiday on a Monday, a national holiday, that we allow it to stay open until 1 a.m. like, I don't know if there's any traction for that. It's kind of, we're doing the 10 o'clock kind of for a tourism type thing. And when people come in on holiday weekends, they do fill up the hotels and everything, and they treat like Sunday like a Saturday.
The only holiday that affects the 4th of July.
Labor Day, Memorial Day.
They're all on Mondays.
Right, so you'd stay open Sunday night until 1 a.m. instead of...
The holidays are on Mondays.
What's that?
Yep.
The holidays are on Mondays.
He's saying
No, I'm saying-
Sunday would seem like a Saturday in that case because you don't have to work on a Monday.
And it's only if 4th of July fell on a Monday, where, people would have off on Monday like a holiday. But
That might be something for Jennifer. I know Jennifer's done a lot of work. She's got a lot of contacts. It may be something for her to look into in terms of what other jurisdictions.
I wish I brought it up before the first reading tonight.
Well, it's something, I don't think we would have it just immediately available anyway. That might be something, I mean, if it's okay with you all, might be something to, we pushed this out, and I think we were trying to get something done prior to the
Bourbon Festival.
Yeah, the Bourbon Festival. That's something I think we could do fairly easily with a separate ordinance if need be. But I think this can't be something that other people haven't addressed, I wouldn't think, but it would be something.
Yeah, we did New Year's Eve, the once every
That's
7
the
years.
only time I've seen it.
Yeah.
Some other ordinances that I've looked at was the New Year's Eve. Is there that kind of demand, you think?
Oh, in our place, I don't know, it probably would make $5 worth of difference or something, but, I know,
I mean, I don't know
I
very
do know
many
you get
places. that-
situations where bars want to stay, you got the tourists out and about, and then all of a sudden you say, well, tonight we got closed at midnight, you got to chase them out, so.
I just don't know how many.
We don't,
times it's-
we're not a late night one as like it used to be. I think there are other bars that say later than that, so it wouldn't affect our situation that much, but I'm just throwing it out there. We can go on and do this one and then be something we can think about.
If there's a need for it.
Getting,
There's not very many places that are open Sunday night, heck, past 10, I think, even on a Labor Day or Memorial Day that I can see.
no, we can just throw it out and see if anybody requests it. Nobody wants it, since that's going to take over
You
there.
don't want to be the only guy requesting it.
Hey, I don't make any difference. I'm going to be the only guy tonight, but I am not requesting because I have the thousand taverns. It's not, we don't stay open that late on, even on the weekend, on those nights. So it would probably help my competition more than it would help me.
Well, it's just one of those things that, I think that it probably, because of the Bourbon Festival, the necessity of the, somewhat of expediency, I think we need to consider this one and then maybe look at a separate, but it's something worth at least looking into what other jurisdictions are doing. Because one of the issues was, let's make ourselves in compliance with the state and competitive with other jurisdictions.
Okay, I'm just throwing that, and it may be, I don't know. Well, I guess you can go to 1 o'clock, or we couldn't do it on New Year's Eve either.
We'll take a look at it. We'll just, if it comes to where seems like there's a need for that, we could always amend it.
Yeah.
But we do need, to Tim's point, we do need to move on this.
Oh, I'm not trying to slow anything down, it just occurred to me today, so I'm just throwing it out, discussion, and, in the spirit of open meetings and not, do anything by email with each other like we're supposed to do. That's why I just threw it out on the table here.
Right, the next item is the first reading for the ordinance on our property tax rates. I need that introduced as well.
Mayor, if I'm in order, I'd like to have ordinance number B, 2018 property tax rate read in summary.
It's cool.
It's full, okay.
Ordinance B, 2018 property tax rate, an ordinance amending and adopting as amended an ordinance styled, an ordinance levying tax on property subject to tax in the city of Bardstown, fixing rates thereon and designating the funds and the purposes for which the expenditures are authorized for the fiscal year July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. The City Council of the City of Bardstown Kentucky does hereby ordain as follows. That Section 1, that there be and is hereby levied a sum of $0.1790 on each $100 of real property subject to taxation, the sum of $0.1790 on each $100 of personal property subject to taxation, and the sum of $0.24 on each $100 of motor vehicle, watercraft subject to taxation in the city of Bardstown for fiscal year July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. All monies hereafter collected for taxes due for the year 2018-19 and for all years prior thereto shall be allocated to the general fund for the general purposes of city government, including but not limited to recreation, police, fire protection, general government, and the maintenance of streets and highways. 3, collection of the property tax bills of $10 or less may be waived by the chief financial officer. 4, all taxpayers whose taxes are not paid by the last day of October or by the 13th day after the mailing of the tax bill, whichever is later, shall pay a penalty of 10% of the amount due of taxes due and unpaid, and in addition thereto shall pay interest on the unpaid taxes at the rate of 1% per month or part thereof until paid. 5, a 2% convenience fee is levied on any credit card transaction payment for property tax bills. This ordinance shall be in full force upon its publication, and all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are hereby repealed to the extent of that conflict.
Okay, and I think on paragraph 4, you said 13th day, but I think that's 30th day,
Whoops, my bad.
30th day after mailing.
Yes, please reflect that that's correct.
Okay, this is the first reading. Is there any questions of Tim or discussions?
Guess we might need more money for safety officers, I don't
Yeah. We got that, we were all got that worked up last time. Okay, we'll have a second reading at the next meeting on our property tax rate for 2018-2019 fiscal year. Okay, second reading, B 2018-15, repealing of the Code Enforcement Board. Ask the city attorney to read that.
I'll read that in its entirety. Ordinance number B 2018-15, an ordinance repealing in its entirety an ordinance style code enforcement board. Whereas on November 10th, 2015, ordinance number B 2015-28 was adopted and provided for the creation of a code enforcement board for the city of Bardstown, as well as providing administrative and procedural guidelines for the enforcement actions and proceedings before said code enforcement board. And whereas enabling legislation under Kentucky revised statutes has been amended and since the adoption of the above referenced ordinance without those changes being incorporated into the ordinance, and whereas the City of Bardstown Code Enforcement Board, as originally constituted, no longer has a quorum of members, and whereas the need for regulatory enforcement through the Code Enforcement Board has not been as efficient or effective as anticipated in the terms of generating regulatory compliance, and thus the need for such enforcement through a code enforcement board is not as desirable as necessary as when the ordinance was originally adopted. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Bardstown, the Code Enforcement Board ordinance enacted on November 10th, 2015, and any and all amendments enacted regarding that ordinance are hereby repealed in their entirety, and the Code Enforcement Board designated thereunder is hereby dissolved. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are hereby repealed to the extent of that conflict. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect following publications required by law.
Okay, that's second reading, so I'll ask for individual votes, so if you
Will
would.
a motion?
Oh, excuse me, yes, let's have a motion first to approve B 2018-15 on second reading.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Sheckman, have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Copeland. Okay, I'll ask for an individual vote, signify by saying aye if you approve. Starting with Councilman Kelly.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, the second reading also for B 2018-16, I'd ask City Attorney to read the summary on that one.
Yes, sir. Summary of Ordinance B 2018-16, an ordinance repealing B 2015-29 animals, B 2015-30 drainage control, B 2015-31 nuisances, B 2015-32 occupational licenses, B 2015-33 property maintenance, B 2015-34 signs, B 2015-35 solid waste management, and amending and adopting as amended an ordinance relating to Chapter 51 solid waste management, Chapter 90 animals, Chapter 94 nuisances, Chapter 98 signs, Chapter 117 occupational licenses, Chapter 155 Property Maintenance, and Chapter 156 Drainage Control of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does ordain as follows: that amendments made to Chapter 51 Solid Waste Management, Section 51.99 Penalty, Chapter 99 Animal, Section 90, that should probably be Section 90, or Chapter 90, Section 90.99 Penalty, Chapter 94 Nuisances, Section 94.99 Penalty, Chapter 98 Signs, Section 98.99D Penalties, Chapter 117 Occupational Licenses, Section 117.99 Penalties, Chapter 155 Property Maintenance, Section PM-106.2 Penalty, and Chapter 156 Drainage Control, Section 156.99 Penalties of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances, deleting from those various penalty sections references to civil penalties or fines to be assessed through the Code Enforcement Board process. All ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall take effect and be in full force immediately upon its passage. Approval and publication is required by law. This summary was certified by me, Tim Butler, City Attorney. And I believe on first read, I actually physically marked out that Section 90, whichever one it was, 90.99, and actually put the, I think it's Chapter 90 Animals, Section 90.99. So I think I marked that out, but it is Chapter 90 Animals, Section 90.99. And I apologize that I did not get that to Mary after that. So I think it was read properly on first read and considered amended here on second.
Okay, second reading, I need a motion then to approve B 2018-16.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Jones, to the second. Second by Councilman Butler. Any discussion? All in favor, then signify by saying aye.
No,
Excuse me, individual votes, starting on Councilman Jones, by saying aye.
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 Thank you. All right. We'll make that correction on the printed copy of it.
Yes,
Instead of
please.
99, it'll be 90. Okay, we were supposed to have a second reading on B 2018-17, where we have these classification compensation. We've got two more that are going to need to be added, so we decided rather than do a second reading, we wait till we get the two more added and start over, because they have to be published. So we want, to publish two changes when we're going to publish 6 would be cheaper instead of having to publish these 4 right now and then come back 2 weeks from now and start 2 more changes and have to publish that again. So a little savings to the city, and these are not changes that are just have to happen today in order for us to do business. So we're going to
Motion table that, or?
I would take a motion then. Greg, if you'd like to comment on that.
It's just a couple changes to a couple positions in the finance department. And they'll have to go through first and second read again. So rather than having a second read here and then a first and second read on the next 2 council meetings, we'll just table these 2 and have to be published as well, just like the mayor said. You have to pay for that.
Save a few $100.
Save a few $100, exactly.
I'll move table ordinance number B2018-17.
We have a motion to table the second reading. Second. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We've got some retirements coming up and moving people around, and some of the job duties are changing. That's what's kind of driving some of these changes here. So some of the department heads are changing. Okay, tax assessment moratorium. I think originally it read 208. It should be 204 East Stephen Foster. 208 Broadway, you might say, but the actual location of the property is 204 East Stephen Foster.
Yes.
Yeah, originally it was put on the
Once the
maps too
owners
late,
are
but
ready.
it's the actual property's too late. So, Tim, you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, it's just, what it allows a person to do is to invest money into property, and they would be taxed at the rate. In this case, I think that the original, they estimate that the fair cash value of the property before is 155. They're gonna put another 155,000 into it, and instead of being taxed at $310,000, they would be taxed during this moratorium at the same $155,000. And what it does is that encourages people to invest in properties. It's an inducement to invest in maintenance of properties and upgrade properties.
We get these from time to time.
Get these kind of things.
I'll move that we approve Mr. Fowler's request for moratorium.
We have a motion by Councilman Kelly, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, any of the council members have anything to bring before the council this evening, or anything to report or announce?
I would like to say, just a comment section.
Sure.
This is just about the Historic Review Board. They've changed their date to the first day of the month if you want to have a COA application. I think it's because Rochelle has gotten bogged down with so many that she's not had time to prepare. And I know we changed that not too long ago, so it wouldn't be such a gap between when you applied for your COA versus when you came to the hearing. But she needed more time, and their board did approve to move that to the first day of the month.
So what are you asking us? to
No,
do?
I'm just making a comment.
Oh,
That, I just thought maybe it could be noted that that date has been changed.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
That doesn't start until January 1st of 2019.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, we suggested that they, when you have a change like that, it catches people by surprise, and so you have to get the word out. That's number one. And one of the changes that I think was made, and this hasn't been changed, but we noticed we got a week after their meeting, it came to us for our final approval. So tonight being the 28th, which is about as late as the meeting can be, you're applying and you have your approval within 4 weeks, which is pretty good. But that's right. She's been, now that they have individual applications for everything, it's really kind of creative. But it does allow them the flexibility of you've got 3 things you're asking for to deny 2 or to approve 2 and deny 1 or whatever.
So you're saying the deadline's going to be moved to the first day of the month?
The first day of the month.
First,
Yeah, I didn't know it was January though. I thought.
right, first of the month, and it starts in January.
The deadline used to be when?
First Tuesday.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing. I mean, if you do it a lot, it's easier to know it's the first day of the month.
And it gives her a little time, and she's asking the board too for a couple more extra days to get those approved, because she is getting bogged down. I mean, there's record numbers of COAs
Right.
going on in a month, especially 2018, which bodes well for HRB.
Yeah.
She is asking for a few extra days, and then it did change to the first of the month, and that gives her time to go through the applications.
You've already figured out that some months it doesn't give her any extra time, because if the first is on Tuesday,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
the first Tuesday, it's the
probably
same,
4 days.
it's the same deadline.
Right.
But she said it would give, she showed me, and to be honest with you, I kind of glazed over, but she was telling me that some of the months it would give her 0 extra days, others it would give her as many as 2 or 3. So,
It's not a big deal, but it's.
Also, are you done? I'm sorry. Okay. Also, Bardstown was the host city for the Kentucky Main Street Directors Conference. We also had the state of Wyoming here. There was about 60 Main Street directors, and they were here for a whole week. I was the ambassador for that, and they really enjoyed themselves. They loved the city of Bardstown. But we also had a special guest here, and that was Lisa Thompson with the National Trust. She was able to go and tour a lot of properties here, tour the historic district, and give a lot of suggestions. Actually, with Spalding Hall and things of that nature. So if anyone ever has a chance to go outside of the city and get training and bring it back and tell the city about grants that are available and special education, it's imperative that we do that, because the block over there where the First Baptist Church is, the old grocery store, Cherry Bowman, and then also properties that we're actually looking at as well. They're able to give a wealth of knowledge, and it's great to have good connections with them because they can actually help us in the future. So I just, I was thankful that they were here. And Randy Mauser is the Bardstown director, and she wasn't able to give the information out to the council and the mayor that it was here. She's new in her position, so I just wanted to say that, you know, it wasn't by being mean or anything. She was bogged down and just, you know, forgot. So it was a good experience.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the council members this evening? We don't have any cemetery deeds, any announcements? None, I request a motion to adjourn then. So moved. Motion for Councilman Shepard, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Jones, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned, thank you.